The public hearing.
So yeah, the public hearing for tonight, the purpose of it is to give, obviously, to give the public a chance to review any line item or budget proposal for the grant.
The operating budget itself, right?
Is we have the top to the highlight of the project, and one of them is general fund, 2025 budget. That is what the proposed operating budget is. And that one has columns on the 24 budget, and 25 department head request. For the collecting revised, and then finally the last column is DC approved, which is budget committee approved. These are the numbers that were approved through our meetings and our process of the presentation we heard from the department. The next sticker packet says general fund 2025 DEF, and it's the default. What this is the copy of what we had gone through prior is the proposed default budget for 2025, and what that is the current budget with only changes or revisions that are typically by law or a contractual agreement. And on that one, we need to go through, as it was when we voted on it earlier, there's a comment section with details. And any changes to the default from what it currently is for this year are noted in the left, the far right hand column. A good example would be page 4.
Of the default?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking? Okay.
Page 2. Yeah, that's good. And there were reductions because we have followed elections this year.
Gotcha.
So that would mandate a change by law. The other two budgets that we have here that are part of this public hearing is the water department proposed budget. And then you budget has the 2024 current budget, which is actually on default. And then 25 requested, the same by or the and then the final column for budgets in the process. And then the default is actually the same number because there were no changes needed. The default provided by that number is the same exact number.
WTR, DWT.
So I was just noticing that, and it looks like there's about a $3,600 difference listed under the 2024 or this year budget and the 2024 budget grand totals,
Talking default or
comparing the two.
Yeah, the
I would
default.
have,
It looks like it's only like $3,500 or something
Yes.
different. Okay. This is the proposed budget. here,
okay, thank you.
And the default is here, so it's
Okay.
really like $3,500 difference between the two, so it's.
so wouldn't those two numbers be the same or?
Mine is not, mine's approved is 541 and default is 538.
No. This is.
Yeah, but the
this
default is the same number as
budget
this.
Worksheet,
Two copies of the
general
same
fund.
form.
And it
That's
lists the
that's what's throwing me off. Is it doesn't have the they're both the same.
Total.
Is that your default right there?
No,
Yeah.
The default budget
Yeah, no,
is
so
grand
it's
total.
Fault, and this is
90
what's being asked for.
$600.
They're on the same,
What's
this is the
default
default.
again?
538.4. That's not default, that's our current.
Default is the same as
Right,
this year's
but
budget.
default is the same number as that because that's the budget from last year.
Yes.
This is the new budget.
Yeah.
So they're on the same page. You just gotta go over here and look at it. Look at your default number. It's 538,474. Well, that's 538,474, but if you come over here to what was it this year, the new number is here, so it's all on the same page. The default and the other one is what she's saying.
Yeah, the water.
Because there was no changes, right? Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I have two copies of the same one.
He's got two default budget.
That's why it's throwing me
Oh,
off.
you don't have the operating?
No.
But I can, where's your default one? I'll just write this is a default. So the actual operating is 541.
No, you're right.
Oh, you do? Okay, 474.
Thank you. That's okay.
So I just got a text from somebody that says they can hear us, but no image.
They don't need to see. them.
Lucky them.
It's a bad hair day.
What there?
Ryan, when this hits the, is this gonna say on it that it doesn't come from taxation, so we don't run into what we did last year?
Absolutely, and that language should. was on the-
Yeah. Okay.
It's like I'm gonna. put it out for practice for me. Still in discussion at this point, but. Yeah, that should be finalized next week.
This number is not, its name is.
Which one are you looking at here?
This is.
That's the default, yep. And this is the actual budget for this year. This is this year's budget. So you're looking at. No, it won't be because there was changes. So this is the default budget without the changes. Correct. Yeah, that's what it's gonna go. This is the actual number that it will be if it goes. And this right here, the 10 is what is being proposed for. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And just like the one with the water, there was no changes in it, so it stayed the number stayed the same on the page.
Yeah.
This is obviously a lot bigger of a budget.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be changes throughout the budget, so those would be right
Reflect.
here. This is, yeah, so this is just your default number.
Thank you. Doesn't seem like an outrageous increase.
It's really not. And I don't know if he puts it on, but how much of does anybody know how much of this budget right here is taken up from revenue that we bring in? I know we have the budget's 10,407,350, but revenue offsets that. So I mean, the money we take in for registrations, all that stuff offsets that. Right?
We have gross budgeting, so So they have to put the amount excluding revenue
Yeah,
as the
exclude,
amount to be raised.
right.
Um, I mean, we haven't seen revenues. have we?
Yeah, that's what I didn't,
Usually, at hearing, we have the revenue. Well, we used to get the estimated revenues for this year.
that would, that's a question I'll ask Ryan, it's off the phone. I guess, I mean, at this point, it kind of doesn't, not much we're gonna do with it, it's already been voted on. The only way it can be changed is at deliberative at this point.
I know it, last year.
No, we can change what we want.
Right now?
I know last year we did not, we
We
did
can
not
change it.
see. Estimated. revenue. I don't think we did,
Last time I was on the budget committee, it was back in the teens and,
like 1918.
well, 19s too, but. No, that,
And they may have already adjusted this for that, I don't know, but I haven't seen the,
well, we can ask the selectmen director, you guys have a, it's the revenues and estimated
no, I still got,
list of revenues.
I just have a
That's your estimate. for
question.
2025?
Estimated for 25? No, I don't think. so.
Usually that's.
The,
Without it. Or it used to be.
I have a question and I don't,
Yeah.
quickly, is this, is the 10,407? Do we calculate revenue into that we've already brought in, or is that all?
No, what happens is. Side. What?
His
Oh,
question.
you said. Merge.
The two together?
Merges or offset operating expenses.
So it doesn't have anything to do with what we're voting on. I get what you're saying.
It's. They'll offset it, till the year, so at the end of the year, not only the operating budget. Put in. But then we input all. That's how it file set. That's why the tax rate going sort of a year.
A year behind itself. I got you.
Do you have a, again, I'm going from the past. We used to get a sheet of estimated revenue for 20, that budget year. Before estimated. For our public,
You won't have it here. That's what he's saying.
for our public hearing, we would be able to tell the public, this is the estimated revenues for the budget you're gonna vote on in March.
Yeah.
No?
I.
Yeah, I mean, that's just information.
Yes. Not very exact.
That's why it's called estimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have it in the,
Right, and it might bite you in the middle if you don't get, you
Sure.
think you get.
all the what? from?
$500,000 from when it is unanticipated revenue.
Opera funding?
Purple.
ARPA for COVID.
Yeah.
The American.
Be in place for that, you mean, right? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Long night.
We're supposed to read off the department and then the bottom line?
At the end, I think.
Okay.
It's the public hearing portion. Right, public hearing portion. And then we close the public hearing. Then the board can talk about anything more that they want to.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Fair enough.
Then push the button so it's green.
Okay, identify myself if they do. Gene Young on the water department. And really silly thing. Third from the bottom on the front page, main expense dropped from 20 to 10. And I'm just wondering what the heck main expense is.
Water mains, the water mains, the actual pipes that feed
Okay.
all the rest of, that's
Yeah.
what
It's
that
like for
is.
Maintenance and
That's-
repairs. and
Yeah,
So we're anticipating they're not going to blow out as much as they have in the past.
they've been, I mean, that's on,
To help answer that question is a few years ago, they established a water main capital reserve. And they've been putting money into that, so the water main major, that's more for major line repairs. So they've been utilizing the capital reserve more.
Hmm.
For large needs, and that 10,000 is just there for
if they have a leak or
minor
something.
leaks. Josh is. It is still being recorded, everything audio, the camera.
Can I start reading the warrant articles and, or do we have to wait till
At
that's?
this point, we're almost 18 minutes into the hearing. If you don't see any other public input, or anything like that, we can close the public hearing.
Into the
If
warrant?
you'd like.
Well, I just, right.
Yeah.
So at what you're saying is right now, if there's nobody here that has any questions, we can close public input early and then go right into the warrant articles.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody object to that? Do you folks have any questions on the general budget? I know. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and, any more questions, Gene? I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment for
With the public hearing, so
public hearing for this part, and then we'll move on to the warrant articles.
the warrant article is not read during the public hearing?
Yeah, we're gonna go over those now, but not during,
All right.
yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. So I guess we'll start going through the articles. Now, some of these aren't money articles, so what are the money articles start on, Ryan? 8 benefits, yep. Now, we're not, these have already been, this has already been voted on, so we're not voting, we're just reading them and so the public has an idea what they are.
All that we have.
Oh, you haven't voted on, okay. I apologize. No, I wasn't. I apologize. All right. So we'll start here with Article 8, Benefit Pay Capital Reserve Trust Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the Benefits Pay Capital Reserve Trust Fund, previously established in 2000. Said funds are recommended by the town auditors to be used to pay for benefits accrued by the town employees and redeemed when they leave employment with the town of Alton, in accordance with the town personnel policy. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee, hasn't been yet. Tax impact is 2 cents.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 8, Benefit Pay Capital Reserve Trust Fund for the sum of $50,000.
Can I get a second?
So is this when we're voting on it now?
Yep.
Question,
After we vote a second, then I'll ask for. So I'll second it for discussion.
The only question is, is this in addition to the, budget that we adopted or that were voted on?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
This is set up so if somebody, I believe, and you correct me, if somebody leaves and they have time built up or what, is that?
It's usually what it is for longtime employee, retirements.
I mean, the water.
Well-
all cause an increase or impact. Is that in addition to? Okay, it is. All right.
Do we know how much is in there now?
I don't.
I do.
Should have it in your book. I'll stay up here.
As of November, there is, the total, balance right now is $44,116.22.
Can I have that one more time, Ryan? Ryan, can I have that one more time?
Sure, $44,116.22.
Was there any, anticipated or expense that you know of since then?
Payouts,
Yeah.
upcoming ones or current ones from this year?
Mm-mm.
I'm trying to think. of
No,
what
it's
they are.
2024, December.
Oh, for December? No, I don't think anybody's left. I'm not, no significant payouts out of that capital reserve.
What's the usual amount that the selectmen like to keep in there?
Usually the continuing appropriation is usually 50,000 because on a 20-year or 20+ year retirement.
50,000 added or 50,000 they like to have in there?
The annual appropriations have been 50,000 because we ran into the hole for a while.
Do we know the average per year over the last, say, 5, 10 years, whatever?
I don't have that with me.
Do you know that, Mr. Selectman?
No, I do not.
It's hard to calculate because you don't know when somebody's gonna retire or when they're gonna.
No,
Right, but if we don't know what the usually 50,000 is 44 plus in there now. And if they usually like to have 50 in there, why add another 50?
Well, if you
It's
get
not-
two people that retire that have been here for 25 years, you
Well,
gotta,
well, we could have 8 people retire.
you could.
So what do you do?
but we're just going off of, like I said, right now, we've been able to keep a positive balance in there. It was established in 2000. So since 2000, we've been appropriating $50,000 a year. And through those years in the accrual, we're still only at 44,116.
I think just to clarify, you made a statement that we like to keep 50,000 in that fund. I think that was a misstatement that the tradition has been to put
To
50,000
appropriate
in
50,
each year.
50,000. Yeah.
So about 50,000 is spent a year on this? I just estimate.
It could be any
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it all depends on the retirement and, you know, the age of the employees and
Yeah, I will say, between, the highway manager leaving, the, and then our longtime code enforcement officer retiring. Those all hit similar years back to back. There was large payouts. Especially if they accumulated a lot of sick time. We don't pay out 100, sick time at 100%, but even at 50%, it adds up over 20 years.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the table. I'll call for a vote if there's no more questions. All those in favor of raising the $50,000 for the fund?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Hey, how many is there? You're aye or opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. So that's 5-1. All right, Article 9, the town operating budget. Shall the town raise and appropriate an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately? The amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $10,407,350. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $9,729,012, which is the same as last year's with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13 X and XVI to take up the issue of revised operating budget only. This article does not include special or individual articles voted separately. The operating budget appropriation shall be partially offset by $531,303 of FEMA reimbursement received by the town. This reimbursement does not apply to the default budget. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee. We're doing it now. Estimated tax impact is $4.41. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 9, town operating budget totaling $10,407,350.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will make the call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just supposed to say
They
any
opposed?
opposed.
Just in case.
Yeah, is anybody opposed? All right,
Just keep in mind, we do have to open the school because it's posted for 6:30.
okay, so we'll have to come back to these,
Yeah, we'll have to just come back to them.
okay. All right. Is that 6:30 remain or more? I gotta turn my head this way. One more minute.
I think we need a motion to recess, right? Well, we're gonna pause it. The town part, then we're gonna go into this. No, it's gonna.
Now we will open the public hearing for the school operating budget. Oh, nothing, I just was looking at.
Oh, yeah. Trying to close the gap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we in a position to ask questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Heidi, probably answer any numerical monetary question you have.
I'm just curious as to, if you know why, on page 2, the Walton's per pupil spending is higher than the state average. Any idea?
Could you come up to the microphone? That, thank you. That way we're sure it's getting recorded. Thank you.
It's a simple calculation where it's our total cost divided by our enrollment, and because our enrollment's going down and our expenses are pretty level, the per pupil does increase.
Okay. Thanks.
Probably a dumb question, but if the enrollment goes down, shouldn't some of the costs go down? Shouldn't costs go down?
Well,
Push the button so
Oh,
it's
it's not.
green.
There's a switch on the back.
So. And yeah, now you gotta push the button. Perfect.
It was something new every day. It's not as simple as if if the enrollment goes down, it depends on how much it does decrease. If we're looking at the difference between the number of students from last year to this year, we're at 419 and 411. And we're spreading that over a kindergarten through 8th grade. So that might equate to 1 student, maybe 2 students at a grade level, which wouldn't decrease the number of teachers that we would need or things of that nature. So that's what the cost stays pretty consistent that way.
A question on the second point here. He's talking about open, Prospect Mountain High School to students from surrounding communities on a tuition basis. Have any students from the around, anyone apply for that since?
I believe we have 11 students right now that are currently enrolled at Prospect Mountain High School.
Okay.
Yep. And we're still in the process of working through the state in regards to the payment of those students.
Okay.
I don't, Heidi, you might be able to speak to how many may have paid at this point or have not paid. But again, that's an ongoing process with the state. I believe there's a hearing coming up in the next month or so that will hear a case with the Pittsfield School District, who is taking the state to court because of their reluctance to pay for an open enrollment.
All right.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so the state has a fixed number that they will put toward that student, similar to a voucher, I assume. And then who makes up the delta?
So
Parents or-
in the open enrollment, there is a formula. Again, it is a percentage of what our per pupil expenditure is. I don't know the number, exactly the percentage, but that would be the number that they would provide to us. Right now, we're looking at that number as being the number that we would accept for the open enrollment students. Similar to the question regarding the elementary school, we're looking at potentially 30 students per grade level if this goes through. That would allow us to have a little bit larger class sizes, but it wouldn't need us to add any more staff or faculty to that piece of it. So it wouldn't be the same per pupil cost necessarily as we currently have for our students attending Prospect Mountain.
So if I heard you right, the state will pick up only a portion of what our per pupil cost is. and I guess my question was, is where does the delta come from? It sounds like you're saying you're not going to be seeking to recoup the difference, and instead, by volume, you're getting a discount.
So it wouldn't be the state that picks up the cost. It would be the sending district that would be. funding
I
that piece of
stand
it. Yeah,
corrected, yeah.
Yeah, and you're correct in terms of whatever that number would be what we would accept at this time.
So the average cost per student now, $25,233, right? For 23, 24?
That is Alton, yes.
So if we get, and I think you said what, there's 15 or 18 kids now that are coming from
well,
our district?
I believe there's 11 right now.
Okay, so there's 11, so shouldn't we be getting 11 times 25, 233?
So the way in which that works, it won't be the exact number that are per pupil costs. I don't know the percentage. I want to say it's about 80% of what,
80%.
yeah, 80% of our per pupil cost.
Why would that be? Why wouldn't we get?
That's the way that's the way the law is written at this point.
Well, that doesn't seem like a very sane law to me. If we're using round numbers, if we're paying 10,000 per student and somebody from another town can send their kid here for 8,000, we eat 2,000, right?
But that school district is losing that money for their own district in a way, like,
But they shouldn't get it because they're sending their student here.
But doesn't the overall amount go down, the more students within a certain, I mean, if you have a class of 30 and there's only 20 students, you're still paying for that,
Correct.
basically.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have 20 kids in a classroom versus 15, I still have that same teacher. I'm still paying that same amount for that teacher.
So what if there's 20 students in a class and some town wants to send 3 that are in that class?
I'm
And
sorry.
What if there's 20 students in a class and another town wants to send 3 or 4 and it goes over and I don't know what the number of students per teacher ratio is. What if it goes over that?
Yeah. So the number right
So
now
then
is
you
at
gotta hire
20
them.
the number is 25.
Okay, so what if we're at 25 and somebody wants to send 5?
Well,
So up to 30, then what?
It's-
Yeah.
How many students we take at certain grade levels, if it's gonna over our, and cause us to have to spend more money, then we won't do it.
How do you make that cut? Is there, a test or something?
so there is a application process.
It's a vetting type of
Yep.
thing.
So there's an application process that every student would go through. And in that process, there's a variety of things that they have to do in terms of there are transcripts that need to be sent, there are potential essays, things of that nature. And all of those things are put together in a packet and they're evaluated on a rubric so that we don't look at whether the student's a high performing, low performing. We just look at the packet and then we rank order based off of that. If there is a weight, right now, obviously, we don't have that issue. So right now, if a student provides all of the information in the timeline, we would accept them at this point.
Until you build up to the point where you've got a cap of this many kids before there's changes, and then you would have to start
Yeah, you
vetting
gotta
them
hire more
out, how you
staff
would
that
want to take them.
changes the rubric.
And right now, we're focused in on our incoming ninth graders as a way of building up. Certainly, if we have a student who's incoming ninth grader that might have a sibling and it might be a 10th or 11th grader, we would accept them at that point. But the way in which we would set it up would be is incoming ninth grade all the way up to those 4 years.
And if you want the law to be changed and have the incoming school district get more than 80%, you'd recommend talking to the education committee, and your state representative for Alton is on the education committee.
My son sadly lives in Minnesota. And their system, the money follows the student. So I guess they have like open enrollment,
Yes.
but the money follows. the
All of
student.
it?
Yeah, I believe so. That's why it doesn't make sense to me that if it costs us X, we're only going to charge X less 20%.
So again, I don't know.
Why does that?
There are states that have open enrollment.
That's nothing you guys have control over.
Yeah,
That's a state deal.
Yeah, doing the quick math on this, we're gonna be about, with 11 students, we're short 56 grand.
So where did that money come from?
That was my question.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Thanks for
It,
saying.
it
So
doesn't,
do we have to eat
we
it?
we don't look for that delta from the families at this time. That's the process that the school board has elected to go with. Again, if we look at our declining enrollment, this is an approach to being able to continue to offer the things that we're offering with a declining enrollment. So
But,
the
but
more
we're
we
subsidizing,
lose,
but we as taxpayers are subsidizing it, right?
Correct.
Students from out of town.
at this moment, yes.
To me, that doesn't make sense. That's just me. And so,
Let's change the law.
well, we have to deal with what we have to deal with right now, right? So if you get, say, some ninth graders in, and again, this is just hypothetical. In Minnesota, they can kick them out.
Mhm.
Can we kick them out here? If they're troublemakers, if they don't meet the grade, can we say, you can't come back next year?
So as far as the specifics that go along with it, once we accept those students, they would stay with us. Certainly if their behavioral issues, they would follow through the same behavioral issues as our current students would do as well. And if it got to the point where they were exceeding behavior discipline, we would offer the opportunity for them to either go back to their sending district, or we would take them to the school board for an expulsion hearing.
I was gonna say, do we offer them the opportunity or just tell them to leave?
We offer them the opportunity because once they come to us, they're our students and we work with them. So
See, out in Minnesota, it's every year. If you come from a different town, they can let you go if you're a troublemaker, I mean, you're just gone. You have to go back to your home district.
Or New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I understand, but why,
Yes, we
it seems
are.
like we're kind of backwards here. I don't know, I don't like the 80% thing with the other 20%. We as taxpayers have all been responsible for that.
Yeah, but you're trying to
We're
fight,
not
you're trying to
really-
fight a battle right now that we're not.
Well,
Well, it is though. I want to kind of clear that up, that we have the option to say, if you want to send your student here, you're only covering 80% of that student's cost, so the parents need to cough up the 20% difference. That's the price they would pay to have their students come to our school. I think that is an option that could be.
Yeah, but it's not a private school. It's a regular, open to the public school. So how do you justify that?
I think
Because
we-
we
My
have,
son goes to private school. I pay for it to go there.
because we
But
have
it's
documented.
not that's not what they're doing.
No, I understand, but on the same token, we're opening up our school to kids from outside our district.
And Drew, I say that because I think they're opening the school up because they're trying to keep the enrollment number up.
Yes.
So they can keep moving forward with the school.
It's not costing us additional money.
It's not.
And I don't know. I'm not trying to answer for you guys, but I just.
Are we actually getting more revenue as long as we don't go above that number? So it's actually a positive thing?
Yeah, you
Yes.
reach a balance point
Or-
eventually.
It's like a hotel will reduce rates at midnight because they come out and just fill the, and you're still making money,
we
right?
still have to turn on the lights. We still-
Yeah, okay.
Again, right now, that's the law that's written. And so
Is that?
if it goes forward, we will certainly look at what is the magical number of students that we would allow to come in so that we're not having to then turn around and start adding faculty and staff because of that. And then it offsets what we're trying to do. And again, I want to stress that we're fortunate that we have a lot of opportunities to offer our kids at Prospect Mountain High School. As that number continues to drop down, it makes it more difficult to offer some of those courses and those electives that we have.
My other question would be in relative to this, and I'm not sure, we're kind of steering off into one particular area here, but special needs students, we all know that they can cost 100,000 plus a year. How does that work?
So the sending district is responsible for the special ed costs of any student that comes from a sending school.
100%.
Yes.
Okay.
where do the students come from now? From which districts?
We have some from Gilmington, Pittsfield, Epsom, I believe Rochester as well.
So. I guess it just kind of confuses me why we don't get the balance of what we charge. Again, using easy numbers,
Mhm.
we charge it cost us 10,000 a student, which is just even numbers. But we're only gonna get 8,000. at some point, if we keep accepting the students in, we're gonna have to hire more staff, more this, more that, and the costs are gonna be.
Well, that's the
greater.
idea, is not to get to that point where we're having to add on. Again, I think the analogy was the hotel piece of it. Right now, we're saying 30 per grade level. That we could handle that without having to add on any additional faculty and staff. So that's the number we have right now. That number may go down if need be, so that we're not having to then turn around and hire, because then that's going to offset the idea of.
The costs are
additional
gonna go
revenue.
up in the.
Yes.
Especially if we're only getting 80%. And I keep
Correct.
getting back to that 80%, but it, you know, I mean,
But our cost is still the same, right?
Yeah.
Whether we have 15 kids in that classroom or 20 kids in that class, our cost to open up this building is still the same.
until some parent complains, my kid, little Johnny's not getting this, he need, you know, you need to split it in two.
Well, we have, the law, our school board policy is we can have up to 25 kids. Some of our class sizes are 15 to 17 kids, so we do have the room to be able to expand in that piece of it and still keep it well below the 25 mark.
And the theory being, you were already paying the teacher. You already have to have the lights on in
Yeah.
that room. So if you add 5 students to that room, that's only a benefit. It's lowering your actual per.
Makes the
pupil
room warmer,
cost.
turn the heat down.
How far away will we take students?
We are, as part of this is that if any student wants to come, they have to provide their own transportation. So it wouldn't
Right,
matter
and I
at that
understand.
point. So
But how far away? What if somebody from?
as far as they want to drive.
It sounds like Epson probably is the furthest. at
Yep.
this point.
Well, yeah, Rochester, Epson, probably about this,
Yeah,
pretty
probably
close.
25.
Minnesota, no.
It's too cold there.
It's just what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this at all.
And I think other towns do it differently. And that I just know from what I'm hearing is with my grandson. So it's that where he's intending to go, another public school, we got to cough up the difference.
In New Hampshire?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why
But that's that school's policy.
can't it be our policy?
That's not our.
What
current-
town is that? What?
Oh, I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Okay, let's.
So, yeah. So it's in New Hampshire,
Yes,
and it's from District A to say, I don't know, we'll say,
District A to District B,
okay, so District B wants the full cost. I don't want to give an 80%
correct.
discount?
They won't, what they're getting from District A
Yeah.
doesn't cover their per student cost. So the parents need to come up with the delta.
And so we don't cover it, we don't get what our cost is, yeah, right?
Right. That's what I was suggesting earlier.
Why are
Right,
we
but there
charging?
is differences in the state of New Hampshire. There are some.
Well, he just said it was New Hampshire.
Well, there's some towns that don't have high schools. And so their towns, and I don't know if that's the case, but there are
That's
some
not
towns
the case.
that don't have high
Is that high
schools.
school there? Yeah. No. I think we should charge what it cost us.
This is only the second year?
Correct.
Yeah, perhaps, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth for the school, but once this is an established and well-known policy or 5, 10 years down the road, maybe Alton will go for the whole schmozola and have a schmozola.
I mean, we're like a charity now.
I think, and a lot of this is gonna be in deep analysis in the dollars and the costs and all of that, and being the second year, it's a little early to determine exactly how this pros and cons all balance out. So,
And we're hoping that with the upcoming court case, that there will be at least the language that will clearly identify the idea, the tenets of open enrollment, and that will give us a better understanding of how do we move forward from there.
So the court case, run that by me again, it's Pittsfield is.
A parent from Pittsfield's community is suing. They went through the process of open enrollment and Pittsfield declined. So therefore, they've taken it to the State Board of Education, who sided with the parent, and now they're going to the next step. So then there'll be a hearing on whether or not Pittsfield is responsible for the cost of the open enrollment. And that case or potentially the language that comes out of that case will give us a better understanding as to, as we move forward.
I mean, isn't that just common sense if you have a kid? What am I missing? Oh, you can't say, you don't want to say anything.
Common sense is I would say the first part of it. I mean, it's the law is, depends on who reads the law and how, and one group determines it one way and we determine it a different way. So
All right, I'm sorry if it just piqued my interest when Al asked
Mine
that
too.
question.
Well, it was better than sitting here and.
Holy cow.
So can we ask questions about a procedure? I don't know, but can we ask questions about any and all of these articles out of order, or do we want to handle these one at a time?
I think after the,
Typically,
we can close it.
Gotcha. I'm sorry.
So can I do,
All right.
we have power. So that one shut down, that one is on, but it is on and it is, so camera's on and it has been audio recording.
so by seeing nobody else in here can we close the public input and go right to that? If long
Any
as,
questions from
as
Gene?
long Gene has a question? Just one, Gene. All right. Yep, that'll be next. I'll do that after. All right, so I will go ahead and seeing no more public comment, I will go ahead and close the public hearing for the school operating budget, which opens up, I guess we'll do this, we'll just do the school warrant articles right now and get, so we can.
They're eager to go.
Yep,
Not many.
A lot less than.
Some of us have lots of questions.
all right, is this me reading these or them? Hey, perfect, why wouldn't it be? All right, Article 2, operating budget. Shall the Alton School District raise and appropriate as the operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately? The amount set forth on the budget posted with, with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $18,096,405.00. Physical note, the amount of $4,934,204 is the net appropriation for Prospect Mountain High School operating budget, which is included in the gross budget amount listed above and recommended by the Joint Maintenance Agreement Budget Committee. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $18,046,784.00, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Alton School Board or by law. Or the governing body may hold a special meeting in accordance to RSA 40:13 X or XVI to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. This warrant article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. Alton School Board recommends $18,096,405 by a vote of 4-0. That was a good one.
This is a $50,000 difference, right? From the-
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah. okay.
1.86%, looks like.
yeah, it's 50,
That's
it's
what
really not,
this page says, 1.86%. Is that correct?
yeah.
yep. It's not,
From last year's budget.
Yeah.
Not the default budget, which has the automatic adjustments in it that are controlled by contract and law. So,
They weren't on a default budget, though.
no, I'm saying, but this default budget number that's listed here, which is a delta of $50,000, is greater than last year's budget. So
By
to get the,
1.86. By 1.86.
no, it should be significantly less than that. Should be less than that. I'll do the math in a minute, but just to get the conversation going, I'll make a motion to approve Article 2 operating budget for the amount of $18,096,405.
Second.
discussion?
So we were discussing the differences.
Did you want to see the default budget? I have handouts if you'd like to.
It might go quicker if we have it. I don't know. I don't know. Drew's pretty clever with a calculator.
So I'm showing the 50,000
Yeah, right.
represents,
The union contract is the difference because the teachers are union. That's, I think that's,
yeah.
that's it.
And that really is why the difference of your default budget proposed this year to your default budget this year as opposed to your proposed budget, the delta is only $50,000, where last year's would have been the 1.7% less than this year's proposed budget. Because this 50 grand is only represents like less than 0.3%.
Right.
So, but what that speaks to in my mind is that you've done a great job in controlling
How it's,
what you could control in the cost increases. That's what that says to me.
I agree with that. Any other questions, comment? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Article 3, add to the boiler capital reserve fund. To see if the school district will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $120,000 to be added to the existing water heaters, boiler, ventilation system capital reserve fund, created 3999 under RSA 35:1 for the purpose of repairing, replacing water heaters, boilers, and ventilation systems. The Alton School Board recommends $120,000 by a vote of 4-0. I'll entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve Article 3, adding to the boiler capital reserve fund the amount of $120,000.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah,
What is, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, how much is in there now? How much do you need? Has any been spent since 99?
Yeah.
Well, they have many boilers. at
It's
the
on a
school.
replacement plan. so
Yeah.
we have, I believe, 5 boilers in the building, so we plan out in advance, like how many years each life has, and we're
Much is in there?
accruing to pay for the next boiler. I believe it's next year.
How much is in there now?
getting
Heidi
there.
has it. But we're saving up to buy the next
I
boiler.
understand, but if there's like $17 million.
Oh, no, no.
Well,
Definitely not that. No, it's only for
We're saving
the
up to-
next one and then
This is
save
how-
up for the next one. Like,
They'd be saving up to
yeah,
pick the
it's a
school up and put the school on a new boiler.
It's a revolving door. Or-
That's questions.
Rather than hitting the town up for
I understand.
million
I,
a whack, it's like, hey,
you know, it doesn't say here.
yeah.
And so that's, I just want to,
105,000.
so apparently some was spent past year.
But we have some old univentilators, that have been failing. We've replaced 5, recently, and there's, I think, 13 total. So as they keep failing, like we just had one actually this winter, it costs about $25,000 to replace. They can't get replacement parts because they're so old. So yes, we have been tapping in there, and they do, what is it, 5 boilers, I think,
Mhm.
throughout the school.
That's.
Okay.
all I want to know. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Article 4, to add to special education capital reserve fund. To see if the school district shall vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be added to the existing Special Education Capital Reserve Fund created on 3/14/1987 under RSA 35:1 for the purpose of educating educationally handicapped children. The Alton School Board recommends $150,000 by a vote of 4-0. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, discussion?
Okay, you
What-
know my question.
What, again, how much is in it?
How much is in it? How much?
About 285,000.
It's 285 now?
How do we identify educationally handicapped? What exactly? Is that physical
It could be a
or
variety.
learning disorder
It
type?
it could be a variety of things.
Okay.
There's a process that we use.
Okay.
Students are recommended for testing and then they go through the process. And then a determination is made based off of the testing that goes on. And then
Okay.
based off of that testing, they develop an IEP, an individualized plan. Our hope is as much, as best we can, and as many kids as we can educate them at Alton Central or at Prospect Mountain. But there are times when students need more than what
Yeah.
we can offer.
And I think I asked, how many students currently off campus?
I don't have that.
I think there aren't that many, is there?
Give you an idea, just because I just remembered that I had this packet that we had gotten a while back. And as of July 1, 2024, this fund had 414,000 in it.
We just recently held a public hearing and withdrew 130 because we had unanticipated costs last year. And
Okay.
you know, one that wasn't budgeted. So to cover that cost, we withdrew some money. She doesn't have it listed. I might have to get back to you on the actual numbers.
That's okay.
There's
yeah.
usually, it's like. Students,
Okay.
Sorry.
4.
Got it.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I think that's all for us, right? For that one, anyway, for you guys.
You.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good night.
But I don't like this, well, get it cut it off.
What are you?
Like balances.
Oh, good. Yeah.
All capital reserves.
8 reps.
Go.
Oh, one of them.
Yep.
All-
You just sit over there and call them out.
I will.
But where'd we stop? We stopped at like.
So what is the?
We're at 10.
Stopped at,
Yeah. Oh, we did,
or
okay.
we finished 9, going to 10. Yep, 10's next.
This is, reserves list I was looking.
Oh.
I will still call them out, but I wanted you to have the list. I didn't make the spreadsheet. It came from the trustees of the trust funds.
It's too tiny.
There are 2 pages.
I mean, that's gonna be like font to write.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right, back to the fun stuff. So we're at Article 10, Waterworks operating budget. See if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $541,430 for the operation and maintenance of the water distribution system for the ensuing year. Said sum is to be offset by user fees. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $538,474, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law. This article does not affect the tax rate and is funded by the end users. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 10 Waterworks operating budget for the amount of $541,430.
Second,
Discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Article 11. Capital Reserve Fund appropriations to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $181,500 to be added to the following capital reserve funds previously established. Police Department Building CRF 10,000, Rock and Asphalt Crushing CRF 12,000, Building Department Vehicle CRF 3,500, Assessing Department Vehicle CRF 3,500, Highway Sand Shed Capital Reserve 10,000, Sidewalks 15,000, Senior Center 20,000, Town-owned parking area 20,000, Environmental 20,000, Building and Improvements Transfer Station CRF 20,000, Jones Field CRF 12,500, Milfoil Treatment Program CRF 10,000, Alton Bay Community Center CRF 20,000, Water Bandstand CRF 5,000. Said funds to be raised through taxation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
I guess the selectmen didn't like my suggestion.
What?
To break them out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Just so we're clear. Drew did argue for that.
Thank you.
I suppose it would be onerous to go through all of these to learn what is actually in each of them.
Well, we can hit them. So.
Oh,
Police department,
They're
is
already
that in
in.
here?
they're
Is
all,
that in here?
every single one of them,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
but it is. Having them called out immediately. So police department building capital reserve only has $196.
Thought I was misreading that.
No, it's because they just reestablishing that now because there was talk about a date complex and stuff like that, but none of that stuff is going to be considered now. So then they're gonna need to start putting money away for eventually any kind of long-term repairs that they need down there. Rock, asphalt crushing.
They're not in alpha order.
No, they're not. That's the only thing that,
35,666.84.
no, that's the total balance is at the last column.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. 66,399, right?
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
And last year's appropriations proposed was 30 grand.
yes. Building department. Vehicle CRF.
7/1/23/12.
Sure, that sounds right.
It's, yeah.
Is it on the back side?
No, it's right here. It's,
Right above the
yeah.
field. It's like right in the middle of the paper.
Oh, I got you. Okay. And then the same exact thing for the assessing vehicle capital reserve,
Yep.
712313. Highway sand shed is 40,000 or
40,132.42.
Yep. Sidewalk CRF. Be on the backside.
It's on the other side, I think.
Oh, it is good. Looking on there. Town of Alton sidewalk funds, so there's $25,670.93. Senior center,
Looks like there's some other sidewalk funds too, right? Above that one? Or-
There should be one up here and one down in the bay, correct?
no,
Did we merge that all together?
so everything got everything was supposed to be merged because There was only one CRF that was ever established when we did the homework through by RSA.
Right.
There was a couple of special warrant articles that were drafted over the years for specific projects, but they never were to establish a separate capital reserve. So all of the sidewalks are in, there's one town of Alton sidewalk fund now that has all the money for the sidewalks.
But the other two above it are separate, special.
Where are you talking about?
On the back page of the paper you handed out, above Town of Alton sidewalk funds, it says Frank Stella and it says sidewalk fund. And then Lewis Avery sidewalk fund. Those are 1,700 and change.
Oh, those are trust funds. Those are common trust
Oh,
funds.
okay.
Those are, I'm sorry, you see at the top, the title? In the bold, the black?
Oh, all
Those
right.
are, that's why they have names. Those are trusts.
Okay,
The other ones are the actual, the other ones above that are the, CRFs.
okay.
It's kind of funny that there are trust funds for sidewalks. I mean,
Well, it's just, yeah, it's whatever.
Strikes me as amusing.
It all depends on, you know, the family feels passionate about. There's probably somebody who walked the Bay Area a lot.
Is there
There's a
any,
lot of seniors out there. I've heard them, you know.
Ryan, is there any plans for any sidewalk work this year?
I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not aware of any other than some maintenance.
The reason I was asking is $25,000 isn't gonna get you real far.
No, and I think what they're trying to do is rebuild from the sidewalk project down to the bay.
Okay.
The brick, the stamped
Yep.
brick concrete. I do know that we need to add a little bit of sidewalk work to get the rest of those crosswalk signs in.
Right.
There's a couple of them, this one important one being the one right outside Town Hall. That stop sign sits back on Depot Street, so DOT is requiring that we have one of those islands built with a handicap ramp that comes out, like the bay. You know how the bay has islands
Right.
with the concrete handicap ramp that comes out past the restrooms? The reason for it is this handicap ramp is behind the breakdown lane,
Behind the-
Route
yeah.
11, and it prevents the proper line of sight for a sidewalk. If you stand on the handicap ramp, you're almost 12 feet from the from the white line for even the beginning of the travel portion. So what they want is they want us to delineate and bring that out to the travel portion of the road so that when cars are parked on the roadside parking, that a pedestrian can get out past them for line of sight. You know, people sort of used to peek out between cars by the library. You ever seen somebody do that on Main Street? It makes you clinch
So do you
because
anticipate?
they stick out between, that's why we had to block off the parking spaces 20 feet on each side of the crosswalk. I'm
So
sorry,
do you anticipate us having to spend more than $40,000 on sidewalks?
not this year.
Okay.
This is more of a rebuilding rate.
Okay. I just don't wanna leave you with nothing, cause I know
Yeah.
they need.
Yeah, no, I know. They're gonna pick away at maintenance and stuff,
Okay.
but they're not planning on any real big curbing projects and asphalt work. Senior center,
531,
what's that?
$531.67, what it has.
No,
Or
that's,
two.
that was the balance in October.
Oh.
This is after the appropriations for 24, 20,000 was added, so it has $20,531
Ah,
67 cents. Town-owned parking lots. This was a capital reserve that was established for all of our town-owned parking lots, especially the bay. We didn't have a CRF for repairs for parking lots and we got hit pretty hard trying to repave the bay not last year, the year before. Was it last year, the bay? The year before. But it was roughly $160,000 to pave that. So now we're trying to keep a fund for all our parking areas so that when we do have big projects like that. So the current balance is $68,560, 83 cents. The environmental capital reserve. That has $34,340.13 in it. And we do have a project coming up that will possibly involve some of that, which is the Mill Pond project we have coming up, because this was specifically designed to help manage contaminated areas through either pollution or stormwater management, stormwater runoff. And we have a big problem with Mills Pond. It's constantly flagged for contamination. Building improvements, transfer station. Building and site improvements, transfer station. Right now, that's got $178,126.62.
Is there anything planned for that this year?
I believe that Scotty has plans, he's building up money because of replacing some of the hopper equipment and solid waste.
Does he still have that fund where revenue that he gets in goes into a slush fund, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, so,
that he can spend there?
so what he has, so that is a revolving fund,
Okay.
and that is only specific to recycling. Because a revolving fund can only be established when you're collecting fees or
Right,
you're
right.
collecting.
I think he bought the loader out of that, didn't he? Or they bought one of the loaders out of that money.
No, the solid waste loader is there's a solid waste equipment capital reserve. That's what that was
I think
purchased
he-
out of.
I think. Well, okay, whatever.
Mhm.
All right.
But there are two distinct,
Mhm.
there's an operating budget for solid waste. And then there is the recycling budget, and this recycling budget is a revolving account. Which is like the ambulance, budget is a revolving account because they collect fees from ambulance transports from health insurance. And that goes back in to help fund and offset tax dollars that are required to run the ambulance service. Just like recycling, through their collections, what they get back in recyclables is what helps run that portion of the solid waste center.
Yeah, and you may be thinking they have a skid steer that's almost exclusively used for the recycling
I
operations.
thought years ago they had bought a front end loader out of that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. All right.
And then you have Jones Field CRF. Jones Field is got $26,485.37. And I do know there's some talk over there. They've been trying to deal with the backstop.
There's always a
Well,
project going on there.
Yeah, and the chain link. There was some issues with the chain link
Yep.
and the Green Monster, stuff like that. There was also some improvements that our insurance company required some upgrades on an evaluation. Or highly recommended from a risk management perspective, some safety protocols to be taken care of with the playgrounds and things like that. Just through wear and tear. Then you have milfoil treatment program that currently has $22,119.27. Again, milfoil is something that we deal with every year in conjunction with some of the grants that come out too as well. Alton Bay Community Center. Alton Bay Community Center is 40.
6,
472.17.
Do anything for that plan there this year?
For the Alton Bay.
Hmm.
I believe that they have some roof work that they're trying to get done over there. And, the decks too, the decks have some, support beams and stuff that have, or support posts that have been rotting down, where the water cup rises up and retreats. So those are a couple of identified problems that they're trying to source money for repairs coming up. We did reflash the chimney over there and fix some roof leaks, but the asphalt shingles and stuff are gonna need some work here too. Then you have the water bandstand capital reserve.
147.80.
147.80?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that one doesn't have much in it. I'll tell you that, that capital reserve was established. And last year they tried to take the money instead of putting, we traditionally have put $5,000 in there or away for that to do, regular maintenance for the water band. This is specific just to the water bandstand. And there's a water bandstand committee that volunteers all of their time. A lot of this just pays for materials. And they go out there and they string lights, they replace flags, they paint a lot every year. And repair any damages to the railings and things of that nature. What happened last year is they wanted to make it more accessible. Because with a capital reserve, selectmen are the only agents to expend. So to buy $500 worth of paint, they had to wait for a board meeting, come to a board meeting, present their purchase, and the Board of Selectmen had to authorize the expense. Where if it's a line item in an operating budget, like grounds and maintenance, the department head can just sign off on the account for minor purchases, and they don't make any large purchases. So it went into the operating budget last year. Fortunately, we went to default, so the water bandstand lost all that last year. It was allocated, so nothing went into the capital reserve, nothing went into the operating budget. That's why their current capital reserve only has $100 and something in it.
They do a real good job of upkeeping that down there.
Yes.
They
They're
do a
very
real good
passionate
job
about
of
it.
it.
Volunteers, pretty amazing.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Article 12, Fire Department Capital Reserve. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $300,000 to be added to the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 1973. Recommended by the selectmen 5-0.
So that one currently has $1,760,470 or $760,417.62. And we'll tell you that we have several pieces of apparatus that are on order right now. And a lot of them have production dates for 3 years, 4 years out. So we have payments that we are saving up for right now in excess of $500,000 to $800,000 for. I believe we still have an outstanding purchase on a tanker right now. And that's roughly $775,000. And then we have an ambulance that's out right now for purchase as well. I do know that, we get a lot of questions of, why there's so much money in there right now. It's because the build out time on these orders, we're under contract with these orders. But until they get to a certain point, we put a deposit down and then we have to pay the balance when they come in.
Well, and I don't know if anybody's noticing or not, but it doesn't cost $300,000 to buy a fire truck anymore.
Oh, it's almost a
A
million,
little bit more money.
about $1
than that.
million buy one fire truck.
Yeah. But,
I'll make a motion to approve Article 12, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve in the amount of $300,000.
I'll second that. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Article 13, Fire Department Building Improvement Capital Reserve. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 to be added to the Fire Department Building Improvements Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2005. This fund is utilized in conjunction with the capital improvement plan for the replacement of the fire department buildings. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
They currently have in this capital reserve $343,072. And they'll say that they're gonna starting to put more money into this capital reserve, because again, there was a focus at one point about a year and a half ago, 2 years, about the possibility of a public safety complex or some new building in another location, and it has not gotten any traction and failed miserably because we have not been able to find any suitable land that we can afford to purchase. Anything that is large enough that we can purchase has not been suitable for wetlands issues. We did have the piece of property behind Depot Street under contract for a little while. And again, the problem was we did an existing conditions plan and there was too much wetlands encroaching, took the 10 acres down to 6. which we have 5 on Route 140. So I don't know why we want to spend $1 million for 6. But the issue is, we have been under contract for almost 2 years now, 1.5 years with Ty and Bonds Engineering Firm to try to develop, a public safety building plan and also a fire department plan. And again, there was some talk about public safety first. We've ruled that out as a feasible option. DPW, they're looking at right now, we're gonna utilize the 60 acres that the town already owns by the church, by St. Catherine Driscoll, to do DPW out there. They're currently working on, you know, the survey, the wetlands, delineation and all that's done out there, to make sure we're suitable, and then we're gonna get a plan to move forward with that. But unfortunately, the land, there was a concern about putting a fire station that far out on the east side, and their response times to the other side of the bay. Because as you know, our substations, we can't focus on the substations and bringing them up to standards right now when our central station is falling in on itself. So the idea is that we're going to utilize the full potential of the land on 140 and renovate and expand the central fire station with a new plan. Hence, that long explanation was why they're putting more money into this CRF to go towards remodeling and expanding the central fire station. Of course, we gotta kick the water department out first. They gotta go to the DPW building over there.
It's the shell game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve Article 13, Fire Department Building Improvements Capital Reserve for the amount of $300,000.
Second. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fire Department additional personnel. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $318,000 for the purpose of hiring 4 additional full-time firefighter EMS providers. These funds will cover the balance of the current year's worth of wages and benefits for the 4 full-time positions, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
So I'll make the motion to approve Article 14, Fire Department additional personnel for this total of $318,000.
Anybody else want to take one? All right, I'll second it.
So,
Discussion?
yeah, just gonna say that this would have been a great one for the chief to be here to explain, but, the whole idea of this going to a full-time department is something that was intended to be ramped up over time. And the way things worked out, especially with going to a default budget last year, really threw a monkey wrench into those works, so.
Yeah, now, actually, and that being said, this was already voted in the year that we went default, right? This was actually, had already been voted on and approved prior to this. So it's
Yeah.
just it's redoing what we've already done.
Yeah, what it is this was part of a plan that was implemented and approved over 6 years.
Right.
We've been going transferring from a call per department to a full-time staff department with augmented per diem staff. We were trying to get to 8 full-timers. It was supposed to happen over a course of 6 years. We made all of the steps incrementally last year. We were slated for 2 more, and then we would have had 2 more this year and we would have been done. But the default budget, because those positions were included into the operating budget, when we went to default, we lost them. The idea, in talking through the board and with the fire chief, is pulling them out of the operating budget and showing the public exactly what they're voting on. Because there was some feedback from the community members on people that even voted the operating budget down and didn't realize that by voting down the operating funds, that those new positions were included into that. And that the department was going to be set back on their quest to become full-time. As you know, there are a lot of residents that feel we do need full-time, especially MS coverage, because our town demographic is much older than it is younger. Hence the reason they're bringing students from other areas in, because our student population is going down, our senior population is going up, and our ambulance call volume is staggering.
And it's getting harder and harder to find call firefighters.
Yeah,
Right?
it really
It's
is.
just volunteerism is
So
really,
just a
really hard thing to
synopsis,
come by these days.
Ryan, just a synopsis on this. This was already in the works. Because we were supposed to get 2 the year of the default budget.
Yes.
And then the last 2 this year. So instead, we missed them on the default. So we're trying to make it up this year.
We're trying to,
This
so,
isn't a plan that that is just getting put in
no.
right now. It's something that's been in the works for a while.
Yeah. And one of the big issues that we're having is over the last 2 years, you know, we're trying to phase this in with personnel, but the problem is we can't phase coverage in, so overtime is going crazy. You know, and what this is supposed to do is we're supposed to be able to see a large offset in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime that it's costing to staff our ambulances right now. By having the appropriate full-time staff. And mind you, we're not trying to go from Alton to Nashua or Salem. We're only staffing 2 full-time people per shift. That's all we're trying to get to, is a two-person coverage to be able to roll an ambulance or roll a piece of apparatus and then augment with call per diem. And that's a workable model for us, but we got to get to that baseline too. And in order to hold that baseline coverage, including the chief, who works shift and everything else as well, as one of those full timers, we end up paying a lot of money in overtime to augment that full-time coverage. So again, the point of putting it in its own warrant article was to pull it out of the operating budget, so that they weren't seeing a blind increase and not necessarily looking deeper at the line items to find out where that big jump is coming from. Making sure that it was right there with explanation so it could be discussed at deliberative and clearly voted on by the people in the booth.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 15, Highway Building Improvement Repair Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the Highway Building Improvement Repairs Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 2014. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
Currently, right now, they have $89,832.81. Like I said, we're still trying to put money into these building capital reserves. Because this is also for improvements, repairs or replacement. In preparing for, the new site and stuff like that, like under contract, we split the engineering costs on that contract between building departments, capital reserve, not building, excuse me, highway departments, building improvements, and fire departments, building improvements, because they were both, that contract was to explore all sites and engineering possibilities, so.
Make a motion to approve Article 15 Highway Building Improvements / Repairs Capital Reserve Fund for $50,000.
Second.
Can I just ask that one question?
Certainly.
Why didn't you guys put all the capital reserve funds into one warrant article? Instead of picking and choosing which ones to put in, like Article 11 and which ones not to?
I want to ask first, are you seriously asking that question?
Absolutely.
Or are you just being a wise guy because you don't get the other one split up?
It's
There's 14 in Article 11.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious why you didn't
Well,
why
certainly,
you did it that way, that's all.
yeah.
And I should have asked up there, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's, you kind of did at one point, but it was brought up about breaking out those two warrant articles that you're commenting on, which is the CRFs and the contributions, the donations. And that was brought up, was discussed. The general feedback from the rest of the board was that they've heard from the public repeatedly, thank goodness, it's not, 9 million articles that warrant articles that we need to vote on. It's so much nicer to have it simplified like this. I am on your side of this argument where I thought that keeping them separate would be more appropriate.
But
So
why, but
the,
why didn't you include 12, 13, 14, 15?
they-
Well, they're a little bit larger
Yes,
numbers.
they established a threshold and because I know this was done before Drew came onto the board last year. They did vote on a threshold of 20,000 or less. If you notice, every single one of those contributions is either 20,000 on the dollar or less. And the board felt that though they wanted to make a concerted effort to consolidate and reduce the size of the warrant, they didn't feel that anybody should be, that larger, appropriations should be studied and voted on separately. They weren't willing to put them all those big numbers into one.
Well, not only that, but somebody might not wanna, a person that doesn't wanna vote for bridge replacement capital reserve might wanna vote for highway equipment, and if it's all rolled into one, you're talking 150,000 as opposed to all those ones that don't add up to that, or barely add up to
But there's
that.
some things in Article 11 that I don't want to vote for.
Yeah, that argument
So-
works. It's both ways.
I'm just explaining it to how it.
I mean,
And one of the other things that was looked at when they did that and Drew can vouch for that discussion, that we did look up and pull some of the voting numbers to see what the trends were as far as how popular it was a yes versus no for last year, which was being the first year that it came in. But they also picked these capital reserves because traditionally over the years, these were well-established capital reserves and they've always passed by a huge majority. Not, I'm talking hundreds of votes, 400 or more. In several instances, because we always put, $10,000 into Jones Field and it's never really been. It's always been a reasonable number and the public has always been very supportive of it, so.
Well, I know when we voted on this, and that was back when I was
Yes.
sitting on the
yeah.
board, that the discussion was that people were coming and talking to people that saying, we're doing 50 warrant articles and we're sitting in a booth for 45 minutes circling dots, and by the time you get to 25, you're like, all right, I had enough. You either don't fill it out or you move on.
Yeah.
So the idea was to tighten up some of the smaller ones, so it didn't take somebody 45 minutes standing in a voting booth.
And I guess my rebuttal, whatever would be, is that for years, the town has always said, before you go vote, you can print out the ballot, you can make it.
Absolutely.
Board, and then just go in, and we vote once a year, and I don't think 10 minutes versus 25 minutes or 20 minutes, what's the big deal? We vote once a year. That's just how I,
Nope.
that's how I, that's my
Absolutely.
personal opinion. And I apologize, that time I should have asked you on 11.
No, that's okay.
So I'm ready to move that article that you said. Or the.
Article 15, which I think we had a motion in a second, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 16, Bridge Replacement Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 150,000 to be added to the Bridge Replacement Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 1995. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And this one currently has 175,286.44. We currently have one bridge that is in desperate need of replacement. And, as of the end of 23, the replacement cost with the deck over bridge was $325,000.
Where's the bridge now?
It's on Roberts Cove Road.
Roberts
It's on
Cove,
the
okay.
north end of Roberts Cove. It's actually a historic bridge. It's made of,
Dry stacked.
yeah,
granite.
dry stacked cobblestone stuff, and then it has an asphalt deck over the top. But there's a bunch of, actually it's concrete, I think, over the top because it's spalling.
Yeah, it's small, yeah.
How many bridges in Alton, do you know offhand?
How many bridges?
Yes, offhand.
I want to say, I was thinking the last, for just the local bridges, not DOT controlled,
Yeah,
I think we have 11.
11, okay.
That's an approximate. I want to
Yeah.
be stuck.
But the
I
ones
want to tell
on
you that I'm 100%.
28 and 11, those are maintained by the state?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So normally when we have bridge problems and stuff like that, or the larger bridges, they'll, what they call red list them. So, but the town obviously is solely responsible for our local bridges, and, you know, that includes large. I guess they consider them bridges, but a lot of them are old, large culverts. Like for instance, they recently did the Loon Cove Bridge. And that was a big steel corrugated culvert. When I say big, that had to have been at least what, 10 feet across?
Hmm.
Maybe?
No,
8
I think
feet?
it might have been bigger than that.
I know you could walk through it, stand up in it, walk through it.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was a
corrugated
96
one,
inch pipe.
But over the years, because we had to do the same thing on the south end of Roberts Cove when they did the Roberts Cove Road reconstruction. Those old corrugated ones, they rot out and they start moving. So what they do is they do these bridge over decks, which they come in pieces and. they put-
Precast.
Yeah, precast, and then they put the abutments in and they spanned the water without disturbing it. And it alleviates having to get dredge and fill permits and stuff. I mean, there's still some notification, but I think it's more permit by notification.
Yeah.
Because they don't actually have to do the
They don't-
sheeting. to
They don't
block the
interfere
water.
with the influence line of the, where the water comes up. They dig outside the influence lines and put the footings outside. So it takes away the call for permits because you're not digging in the water, in the spillway of the water.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's been successful for us so far. We've done 2 of them, and even with Loon Cove had some problems because of the storm, the flooding.
Mhm.
Because when we had the flooding, Jesus Valley, the brook comes down the side of, what's the one that comes down the side of Jesus Valley? What's that? Yes, I think that's what it is. Feeds into that, and the water was coming so fast and so furious that it submarined that steel culvert and pushed it right out the backside, so it was sticking up over the bridge into the bay, into Winnipesaukee right there. And the highway garage and their personnel actually went in there by hand and cut that up with a demo saw. Got it down, pulled it out the backside with our excavator. And then folded it up like origami with the excavator. And then they staged it off to the side, and we had a company come in and did that bridge over precast technology, and was very successful.
Oh.
It's really the most cost-effective way to do a bridge.
Very much.
It really is right now. Especially for the size of our local bridges. We don't have anything that's real large.
Right.
Move the question?
Second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm wearing Greg down. Luke's tired.
No,
Just kidding.
no,
I'm just joking with you.
yeah, no, it's just been a long week so far.
Mm.
Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve. Previously established in 1981, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. I'll make a motion.
Second.
This one currently has $133,540.05.
Looks like nothing was spent this year.
No, we're trying to recoup because we just bought a loader and a new excavator last year. Significant expenses, so that's been depleted. One of those pieces of equipment, I think that loader was, I want to say it was 325,000.
Yeah, they're
one
expensive.
loader, that large Hitachi loader.
Mhm.
There's one at the solid waste center too right now. That we have two of them. And then they traded in the old Cat 320 excavator we had and bought a Link Belt 145 C-SPAN or X4. But
Any
now
more-
they're trying to replenish money now at this point.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Retaining wall capital reserve fund, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 75,000 to be added to the retaining wall capital reserve fund as previously established in 2018. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. I'll move the article.
I'll second. Those current balance is 85, 141, 43.
And what is this for?
There's the retaining walls, well, in particular
Bay.
down at the
Yeah.
bottom of Bay Road and on 28A, right?
No, this is, I mean, those, we did use this for like the Harmony Park wall and stuff like that down there, but right now, currently what they're working on, is, so it covers any of those walls, but currently, right now, they're working on the stone walls, that are retaining back the bay side. And the rest of it, so right now.
Where the
they've
boat
gone through-
docks, where the boat docks
Well,
are.
boat docks, they've been down there with the low water level, they were able to repoint the bottom two rows quite a bit and fix that. I know they did some cap work down there, we had some damage. And they've gone all the way out, it goes all the way down, across in front of Shibley's by the pier. Right now, the big problem is, we're having our retaining walls where they make the corner into the boat ramp are separating and coming out away from the bank and caving in. So right now they're trying to get enough money to develop a reasonable plan. We looked at some engineered walls to replace it, but to the tune of $1 million. So we're working with we're working with our stonemason to figure out a better way than to pull all that out and do an engineer.
Yeah, there are better ways.
Yeah.
Helical piles, things like
Yeah.
that, so.
That's the town's ramp, right? No, not
Yes, the
state.
town ramp,
Yeah.
yep.
All right. Remove the question.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Article 19, Grounds and Maintenance Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 45,000 to be added to the Ground and Maintenance Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 2019. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
This one currently has $4,785.54.
Move the line.
Ground
Wait a minute.
maintenance vehicle.
No, it's got
Has
34, 102.
Oh, what was I looking at? The one right above it, I'm sorry. Well, that was the rec maintenance equipment, I'm sorry. So 34, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve Article 19, Grounds and Maintenance Vehicle and Repair Capital Reserve Fund, $45,000.
Second. Questions?
The replacement vehicles or, because we got a large appropriation last year, right?
Yes, correct. They're, yeah, on the capital reserve plan, they have earmarked replacement vehicles. They have several, obviously, with the merging of cemetery under DPW and grounds and maintenance and everything, all the F-350s and 250s, and they have a few, I think they have a few 1-tons too. Well, those are 350s.
Yeah.
I can tell you in just a second, grounds and maintenance capital reserve. Yeah, they're looking at a 20, they're saving up because they're estimating a $60,000 purchase for 26. which is probably a 1-ton with some type of dump body on it. I would think.
Even a pickup at this point.
Yeah, actually,
$50,000.
you're right, it's 60 grand.
Stripped down pickup.
Yeah, if it, that might not even have
Impressive
windows.
now, though. Good.
Yeah, no.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, and I will say that
Okay, supply, crazy enough.
Any more questions? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Town Hall Building Improvement Capital Reserve Fund. We'll see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 30,000 to be added to the Town Hall Building Improvement Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 2011, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
it's currently $33,099.88.
Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve that.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Town Hall part-time personnel, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of 28,600 for the purpose of hiring one part-time assistant in the town clerk's office and part-time assistant in the building department to help with current workload to cover leave time for the balance of the current year, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 21, Town Hall part-time personnel for the amount of 28,600.
Second. Discussion?
How many people are in there now? Full-time, part-time?
So full-time, in the clerk's, so clerk and tax collector, there's
Yep.
3 full-time.
There's 3 full-time.
Yep, 3 full-time for the 2
And-
roles.
So the way I'm reading this, and
Mhm.
you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, this is just for this year, right? And then it's gonna go away?
It's just for this year. This was incorporated and this was the same idea as the fire department personnel. This was incorporated into the operating budget. And then when we lost the positions, there was some, especially with the building department and short-term rentals, there was a lot of upset individuals that we didn't have the help we needed to carry out those new adopted rules. We couldn't keep up with the inspections. We still can't keep up with them. So we again decided to put it in its own warrant article. If it's successful, then we will look to make it part of the operating budget going into next year. But it won't automatically. If this is voted in, it's only for 1 year. I don't want you to think that if it gets voted in, that it automatically becomes permanent.
That's
not-
why I asked, because the way I read it, it's just for the remainder of 20.
It is. But I don't want to mislead you and tell you that the intent is to get rid of it. The intent is to see if it's supported by the public, and then if it is, we'll come back next year again with it. And the reason for it is there's been a lot of outcry when the clerk's office has problems with, I mean, we have 3 full-time employees, but 2 of those employees have been with us for 13, 14 years. They got 3 weeks vacation time. They have sick time. One of them is on a family trip right now. And we have 2 people working for a week in between the clerk's office and the tax collector. So you have 1 in each part. If that happens at the week ending in a month, you can imagine the lines that we are getting out of the clerk's office when people are trying to register their vehicles or when a tax bill is due. So,
Yeah.
and then, like I said, the planning office, the big issue right now is we have all this new stuff with these new regulations with short-term rentals,
The building
Airbnbs.
department.
There's a lot of building going on, a lot of inspections. And we can't keep up with them right now. And there's a lot of upset business people and contractors. Not to mention there's a lot of upset waterfront owners and people who are living next to an Airbnb that's not regulated. Because we're doing the best we can, but we can't keep up with all the inspections and stuff right now.
I don't know how they're doing it. I sat on the planning board with Drew actually and watched that come in and I don't know how they keep up with it.
Yeah.
And on
Especially
right now,
that-
I mean, we're having a real hard
I-
time.
I don't know.
Getting
how
handled.
it's even- I don't know how you can, I'm surprised it didn't come at us with a full-time person, to be honest with you. with
Well,
all
there
the
was
stuff.
talk about that,
You'd
but that
think-
was a little.
Well, you
that
would
was a little
think,
much.
you would think the way things are going, it would slow, it doesn't seem like it is. It just keeps picking up.
Yeah, just keep getting busier and busier. Yeah.
All right, any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article 22, New Riverside Cemetery Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 50,000 to be added to the New Riverside Cemetery Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2023. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0.
That one currently has $75,703.51. I said that,
I'll move the article.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Yeah, what's the money for?
so, the new Riverside Cemetery, if you'll see that, years ago, there was some excavation that was done on the left-hand side where the columbarium is and things, and it's still not the prettiest area over there. The town, we've already paid to have an entire
Survey.
new side of that cemetery designed. There's 3 new rows, plots, the columbarium, some parking. We spent, and of course, it got kicked off right in the height of COVID. So then there was all these COVID issues of companies without any employees and shutting down. So the engineering firm we hired took an extensive amount of time to get the plans done and everything, but we do now, the town has a full set of plans for that project. And right now, we're trying to raise enough money to actually be able to complete the project. Estimated cost that we had before were a little over 200,000, but that was 2.5, 3 years ago. So right now, we're looking at, the other thing is obviously we're gonna try to do as much of the work we can through our labor force and our equipment. There will be certain services we can't complete in-house. But we'll have to use our contracted outside engineers and things to kind of oversee the drainage plan, I think it's overall an alteration of terrain and stormwater management. That as well.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right, 23. Highway Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,450,000 to be added to the Highway Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund, previously established in 1998. Said amount is partially offset by revenues from the highway block grant, estimated to be $205,233. This is an annual appropriation that provides for maintenance in existing roadways, recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Currently, we're down to $134,493.75.
How much?
134,000 from
Holy-
1.4 million.
Alrighty.
4.5. They are utilizing the money to its fullest with our asphalt preservation programs, and our maintenance. There's been a hard hit focus on overdue maintenance, with a lot of these roadways, ditching.
Yep.
And
No,
like I
it's-
said, some paving and, shoulder work, things of that
Well,
nature.
the funny thing about roads, if you don't take care of them, they fall apart.
Yep. They've been putting it to use, that's for sure.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 24, IT Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote and raise it to appropriate the sum of 35,000 to be added to the IT Capital Reserve Fund, as previously established in 2020, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. I'll move the line.
Second.
It's currently $37,033.35.
What do they have on the horizon?
Right now, the big thing is this, circling out of workstations, computers.
I'm sorry?
This cycling out of workstations, slower ones. This also, the IT capital reserve is department wide. So it's also the computer systems that are on all the apparatus. There's laptops and computer systems in all of the cruisers. Plus they have their own network down there at the police station with their own server bank. Fire department has their own network. The rest of the departments have been outfitted now with some tablets. As I believe water department has a few tablets for their asset management
Mhm.
stuff. Highway department has tablets now too because of their stormwater management asset grants. To manage, our permanent, fixtures and our, catch basins, things like that, culverts and outlets and stuff.
So what will this, but this is a capital reserve, right?
Mhm.
It's not the operating budget. So what's gonna be used from this 35 plus?
We established the capital reserve because the operating budget can't support that amount of replacement. The last replacement we did was almost 20 workstations. Talking about roughly a $30,000 computer bill from Dell. The IT budget's only about $120,000 a year.
So they didn't spend any of this shit? Or-
No, because last year was the massive computer project. Now they're rebuilding because that 20, those 20 or so workstations that they replaced, there's only about a third of what we have for computer systems. And so we're trying to cycle them, just like we do vehicles now. We're trying to cycle them.
How often do they get rid of the computers and get new?
How often? I want to say they're on roughly a 7-year cycle.
Seven?
Yeah, I think it was 5 year. I thought I
Maybe-
remember
maybe
hearing,
5.
no, and even 5 years is pushing.
Yeah, unless it's a Mac and they probably don't have Macs.
No, everything's.
No, but there's, software is on this, well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it also
There's a lot
includes.
of licensing.
Yeah, it also includes, well, a lot of the reoccurring software charges are out of the operating budget.
Right.
But this is mostly for hardware. But you also have the miscellaneous keyboards, cameras, speakers, things like that. A lot more Zoom stuff.
You got Wi-Fi at all these places that need antennas that need to be replaced that are
Cameras that
outside,
go
or
down in the meeting room.
There's stuff that goes. on.
Those are, but the other thing is too, is, we've had to replace, we've had some power surge issues and things like that. We've had to replace like switches down in the server room. We also have had to,
Yeah,
upgrade.
Battery backups,
yeah.
servers themselves.
We just had to beef up, our time lapse for battery backups with the server with the elevator. Because we have voice over IP phone lines, so you have to have a dedicated elevator. So that is being tapped into, is run from the shaft to the server room now. But it had to have a longer battery backup so that the elevator could return to a safe landing. I figured that was probably appropriate, during a fire, but those are just things that that have come up recently. But mainly the capital reserve is primarily the big purchase is trying to keep up with technology. I don't want to call it changes, but it's like it quickly outdates. I mean, a computer doesn't last nearly as long as a car does. Our cruisers last longer than our computer systems.
That's not saying much.
No.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Article 25, solar exemption, to see if the town will vote to amend, that's not us. Nope. Article 26, Police Department Equipment Capital Reserve, to see if the town will vote to establish a capital reserve fund under, is this ours?
Yes.
Okay. To see if the town will vote to establish a capital reserve fund under provisions of RSA 35:1 for the purpose of purchasing, repairing, and replacing police equipment, and to raise and appropriate $30,000 to be placed in this fund, and to appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from this reserve. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Is this for stuff like body cams and stuff like that? Yeah, that's what all right. I'll move the line.
I'll second.
Do we get body cams now?
Yeah, they just came in.
Yeah.
It's a big undertaking and in light of some of this new technology and new endeavors, the concern is that the police department's never had an equipment capital reserve. Like highway department does, DPW, grounds and maintenance, fire, police department's never had one established, so we're trying to establish one, to take, start saving for these larger. I guess the body worn cameras have roughly a 5-year time, turnaround.
Yeah, and
Where they
that's
start
something they
replacing it
need
and
to
stuff.
have in this day and age.
Yeah, plus they need the ability to store it, the long-term data storage.
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
All those in I'm sorry, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Article 27, nonprofits. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $64,325 for the purpose of supporting the following nonprofits and their individual appropriations. Alton Community Services, $15,000. American Red Cross, $2,000. Caregivers of Southern Carroll County and Vicinity, Inc., $2,000. Granite VNA and Hospice, $12,000. Community Action Program, $10,000. Court-appointed Special Advocates, $500. Lakes Region Mental Health Center, FKA Genesis, whatever that's supposed to say, AKA.
Frequently known
Oh,
as.
frequently,
known as.
formerly, frequently, okay, gotcha. 15,750. Life Ministries, 3,000. New Beginnings, $1,575. Waypoint, FKA Child and Family Services, 2,500. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Do you want broken down?
Article 28, welcome to Alton sign. To see if the town will authorize the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of a sign stating welcome to Alton to be placed at the appropriate area in the Alton Rotary Circle. This is a petition article. We don't need to read that, do we?
Yeah, because it's a monetary.
Okay.
There is a recommendation one. way.
Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 4-1.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 28, welcome to Alton sign for $10,000.
Second. Discussion?
Did I read somewhere that somebody was putting out money for this in addition to this,
No, they were trying to raise money. There was a lot of talk that there was a lot of donations in the wind and that this was gonna start that way. And whatever promises people were making or comments never followed through. So there was one person that was spearheaded that had a donation. It was a good one too, a significant one. But it was, roughly $1,000 or so. But nobody else ended up contributing to the donation campaign, to the idea. So there was a resident that put a petition article together to go ahead and put it out to people. So this was an initiative a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember going on there. And what happened is there was 2 groups working on the initiative. They both came up with petition articles. And what ended up happening, you had the ABA and there was a couple private citizens that had had a vision as well. And then when it came time to deliberative, the amount from 10,000 got changed from 10,000 to 20,000 on the floor. And when it went to 20,000, it failed.
Yep.
So the residents that brought this forward the last time at 10,000 are trying to bring it forward again at 10,000.
What does near the Alton Rotary Circle mean? What does near mean?
So we have so the last time that this came up is, it's in the Rotary, in the grass area, in the middle of the Rotary.
So that's state property.
Yes, the state has agreed, the open area that's on the McDonald's side. Across from the parking lot there, so there's that area, you have some wildflowers and stuff like that, but there's an open area that's mowed. The idea is DOT had agreed to, 1, give us an easement to utilize that property, a recorded easement. And 2, they were going to allow, they were gonna put some fill there or something to raise the area up a little bit, nothing extreme. But so that the sign would be visible, as you came into the traffic circle from the Route 11 side.
Who would be responsible for designing the sign?
The Board of Selectmen would ultimately control the finished design that goes forward.
Gonna have
And what is that?
flashing neon lights.
No, it's yeah, there will be some ideas of conceptuals at deliberative, but they need to go through the board first and they need to be finished right now. Concept designs, let's put it that way, so that these questions that do come up at deliberative, people look at. But again, it's a petition article, there's 25 signatures on it, and it meets the threshold to be on the warrant. So. And I will tell you that there.
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay.
We had a
I couldn't
motion
remember if
on
the
that.
motion or not. So if there were 20, theoretically, just doing numbers, if there were 25 people that signed it, that's only $400 donation. Yeah.
Let them pony up to 400.
Well, that's what.
Yeah.
I move the question, Mr. Chairman, if there's no more discussion.
Fair enough. Any more discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait a
Three
minute.
opposed?
Aye. Aye. Against. And you.
So
Three opposed?
3-3.
The motion
Three.
fails, right?
No,
If it's
No,
a tie, it fails, doesn't
it's
it?
not, yeah, but it's not a motion. It's a recommend or not recommend. So it ties, so it's not, not recommended or recommended. I guess you would, when you read it at deliberative, they would read it as not recommended 3-3. Right.
So this won't be on the.
Oh, no, it will. It still goes. Yeah, this is all, what you guys are doing, just like the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah.
is they're either recommending it or not recommending it. And that's what some of the taxpayers will look at, is
Yeah.
those numbers, and at deliberative, there most likely will be people that will question at the hearing who voted against it and
Yeah,
why.
they might
Just that-
discuss who voted against it. They
Yeah.
did that last year. I
Mhm.
had to raise my hand. I mean, it wasn't for this.
Did you raise your hand like this?
You gotta stand behind it.
Was there one other
there is
petition
a-
article, did I hear
Yes.
was gonna be coming?
So I was going to mention that. So there's one other petition article. So petition articles, the deadline closed out yesterday. And we got an article right in the middle of the day. Well, there's a process that has to go through before anybody can vote on it. It made the cutoff, but the supervisors of the checklist have to verify the signatures on the petition.
Oh.
So the supervisors had it today, but there is an article coming, and I don't think you guys are gonna have to vote on it. I don't think the Board of Selectmen's going to either, because it's not a I'll have to find out, it's not a monetary, it's not raising taxation. But what the unique thing is it's a change to the veterans credit, on tax credit. And what a resident is doing is trying to see if the town will adopt a higher veterans tax credit only for 100% permanently disabled. So there's several towns that have taken this up on their own. So apparently the state has made it, so that towns can dictate what their tax credit is. And Alton and a lot of other towns traditionally under the old rules had one tax credit for all veterans.
Right.
So if you were a veteran, it was, I believe, $750. But what they're trying to do is add the additional incentive or tax, I shouldn't say incentive, tax credit. But that would only apply to people who prove to the assessing office through their records, their VA records and things, that they're 100% disabled.
There's one right now for disabled though, right? Already
Yes.
it's a higher percent, yeah.
Yes,
Do we know when the deliberative session will be?
yes.
February.
It's on the front of this, it's the 4th, February 4th.
Do we know what's?
First, is the school.
So that's in the evening.
No, it's, starts at 1:00.
Saturday. It's a Saturday.
Afternoon,
February 4th is a
February
Tuesday.
1st for the.
Theirs
school.
is the first, 4th is our deliberative, theirs is the school. They're separate.
At 1 PM for the school?
Yes.
In the first.
And,
The fourth,
Fourth, yeah, the fourth
That's at the school also.
at the high school in the auditorium at 6 o'clock.
What day is that?
That's
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
What's that?
Husband's birthday.
Next Tuesday.
No, it starts
The
at 6.
fourth.
February.
Oh, 4th of February, okay.
Yeah, you're not taking a nap early there.
You're, my wife's the second. Groundhog Day. I have a question. My term runs out in March. So when's the deadline to,
So it opens the
22nd,
22nd, but I know it closes, I think.
31st.
so I have a month?
You have, no, it's a week.
Oh, week, oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, it's
just
the 20, it's this month.
This month,
It's at
okay.
the, it's the last week of July. Oh, July. Last week of January. Began with J, I knew.
Up down to the clerk. and-
Clerk, yep.
Declare my-
Yep.
Is there a fee for this?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks.
Please shut your microphones off for me if you.
We don't ask that question.
I'm done. 14 items in them. Get the rest of this. And I know you're free.
Yeah, so the select board had made that decision to do that.